Hey everyone, welcome to your math problems for Wednesday, April 22nd. I'm going to go ahead and start reading the problems. You are going to solve them by yourself, and when you are done, you can resume the video to check your work. First problem, what fraction is represented by point G? I would go ahead and I would actually draw the number line so you can label the different parts. Question 2, Nikila finished her recess time at 1:50 p.m. During recess, she danced to JoJo music for 18 minutes. Rode a bike for 20 minutes, and made new hair bows for 10 minutes. What time did she start her recess? So for this problem, we need to know what time she started her recess because we do already know what time it finished. We know what activity she did during that time. Go ahead and solve these problems. Pause your video. I will see you when you are finished. Hello, welcome back. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that first problem with the number line. First thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to draw the number line as I see it on the page. I see my number line starts with a 0 and ends with a 1 to represent one whole. I don't know, let's pretend it's a whole Hershey candy bar because we always love to talk about food when we talk about fractions. So if I look closely, I can count the ticks. I see I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 ticks. So that's what I want to make sure I have. I know I see 1 in the middle, looks pretty much in the middle, and then 1 in the middle of that, and 1 in the middle of that. So I'm just going to copy that. Let's make sure I did it right, because on the problem I see 5 ticks. Did I do the same thing? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I did. Looks about equal. Next thing I need to do, I need to figure out how many equal parts I have in my whole, because fractions is all about how many equal parts you have. So I'm going to count how many equal parts. 1, 2, 3, 4. I have 4 equal parts in this, whatever it is, candy bar, number line. Say I go ahead and draw my line up just so you can visualize it with a fraction bar. Try to get this. Okay. So we have 4 equal parts. When I know how many equal parts are in one whole, that is my denominator. Your denominator is how many equal parts are in one whole. So I know there's 4 equal parts, so my denominator is 4. So I'm just going to go ahead and label 4 for each of these parts. Now I need to figure out my numerator. Numerator is what part we're talking about. Okay, how many of those parts? So right here, if I'm looking at this part on my number line, I'm really trying to keep this straight for you guys. If I'm looking at this part right here, and I look directly above it, have I gotten any of my candy bar, or have I made it at any part of my number line yet? No. So we're at 0 parts, 0 fourths. Okay, my next part, I'm going to look at it. How many parts have I had? 1 part. 1's my numerator. The fraction that's on that part is 1/4. The next part, 2, 2/4, and so on, 3/4 and 4/4. And our letter G was right here. So what fraction is represented by the G? 3/4. Good job. Bonus question. What fraction is equivalent to 1 whole? Well, here's 1 whole. 4/4 is equivalent. What fraction is equivalent to 0? 0/4 is equivalent to 0. Good job. All right, let's look at our next problem. Our next problem is about Nikila and how she's spending her recess. So Nikila finishes her recess at 1:50. She's done with her recess at 1:50. This is what time she finishes. She finishes at 1:50. So let's see what she was doing during recess. Well, she decided she wanted to dance to JoJo music for 18 minutes. So she was doing JoJo things for 18 minutes. Then she went and she rode her bike, and she did that for 20 minutes. And then she decided she needed some new hair bows. So she did that for 10 minutes. This is all the things she did during recess, but I need to figure out what time did she start recess. There's a couple of different ways you can do it. So one way I could do it is I could just go ahead and take my end time, and I can just go backwards and take away all this time that she spent doing these things. So I could take 1:50, and I can go ahead and I can take away these 20 minutes, because that'd be pretty easy to take away because 50 and 20 are friendly numbers. So if I go backwards 20 minutes, what time would that be? 1:30. Okay. Now let's go backwards the time she spent doing her hair bows. 10 minutes. Okay. That would get me to 1:20. Now I need to get rid of my 18 minutes to JoJo music. If you can do that in your head, that's great. 20 from 18 or 18 from 20. If you can't, then we can just break it up. We could take away our 10 first, minus 10 minutes. That would give me to 110. And then I would have 8 more minutes to subtract, which would get me to 102. Okay. So if you want to do the number line method, you can. All I did is I took all these numbers, 20, 10, 10, and 8, which is the same as right here, and I subtracted it. If you don't want to do the number line method, and perhaps some of you found a more efficient strategy, you might say, I'm just going to figure out how much time she actually spent doing recess first. Okay, well, 20 minutes and 10 minutes, that's pretty easy to combine. That's going to give me 30 minutes. So she spent 30 minutes doing stuff over here. Then she had that 18 minutes where she was doing JoJo things. So I'm going to combine that. 8 ones and 0 ones is 8 ones. 1 10 and 3 10s is 4 10s. So I know she spent a total of 48 minutes during recess. I know she stopped at 1:50. So I need to go backwards in time. So if she stopped at 1:50 and she spent 48 minutes doing her activity, I need to see what time that is. Well, if I have 50 minutes and I take 48 away, I know that's just 2 minutes difference. Because if I counted up and I started at 48 to 50, 49, 50, that's only 2 minute difference. So I know that 50 minus 48 is 2. And again, I just kind of did that in my head, so that's why I'm not showing too much here. So I know the time that she finishes, or excuse me, starts is going to be 1:02 p.m. Okay, so as you work on these problems, we're just asking ourselves, do I know what time it ended? Do I know what time they began? And what's all that information I know in between? Don't get confused with your start and stop times. It explicitly tells you in your problems what it is. It's not going to leave you confused. It's going to say something starts or stops. Okay, so take your time, figure that out. Look at the steps in between. All right. Have fun being mathematicians.